Hi, my name is Tahir from Smart Modeling Solutions. Today we are going to talk about building strategic plan in Quantrix. So I'll show you one example how to build strategic plan, different features built in the strategic plan solution. All right, let's go. First, what we see here is a navigation pane, but also is a diagram showing the data flow and different models of the strategic plan. And also at the same time, it's a navigation. You can click on different hyperlinks and that will take you to the certain parts of the model. So let me explain first this diagram. So we have data flow to the strategic plan. So we have budget data, which comes from database. The budget system also built on Quantrix, and also historical data that comes from also database, Hyperion database. And we use this data for our strategic plan. At the same time, we have three models here. We have scenario manager. Here in this part of the model, we set up scenarios, add KPIs, assumptions, and also we can choose which scenario for each parameter. The second model is acquisition manager, is where we can add new assets, and also we can use existing asset as a basis for new assets, and after that we can update new assets data. Also, we have portfolio manager, where we can simulate portfolio, add or exclude or include some assets, and to see the impact of asset to the whole portfolio and consolidate our data in this portfolio. We will go to each of these models and look at it. At the same time, for users that first start entering data to the strategic plan, I have a feature called My Workflow. If we click on that, we will be shown also kind of navigation for the user with each step to populate data, for instance, to enter general assumptions, key parameters, to select scenarios. It kind of helps the user to navigate throughout the model and to add data, and it's also interactive. You can click on that and that will take you to this part of the model, to this matrix, and you can always follow these steps to complete your strategic plan. It also shows the progress, shows whether each step already completed, data is ready, and show kind of progress for each step of building the strategic plan. Okay, let's click first the scenario manager. Here we have different assets, and we have kind of KPIs for each asset, which we should populate for each year. We have base KPIs, additional KPIs. Here we add input data, and for each scenario again, for optimistic, base, or conservative scenario. We have special case where we have KPIs, they are not correlated, or not all of them are correlated, so it may happen that one KPI goes up, another parameter goes down. So depending on that, we have full flexibility. So for each parameter, we can choose corresponding scenario. So one parameter could be base, another one could be, for instance, conservative. Depending on choice of the modeler, it could be changed. And for each parameter, we have individual scenario, and also for each asset. So you can leverage the multidimensional nature of the Quantrix so that to create such complex scenario cases. After that, we will go to, so there we can set up scenarios, we can add new scenarios, and as I showed you, we can choose scenarios for each parameter. The second model is Acquisition Manager. Here we have the dashboard. We show, for instance, one of the assets, Dubai, in USD or currency. And now let's say we are going to acquire a new asset, which actually very similar to another asset. So we can use it as a basis, and then we can a little bit change the input parameters. To acquire new assets, it's called Maria, and we will use our existing asset as a basis for that. So here we can choose some of the existing assets and to use as a basis for a new asset. So let's say we choose Monaco, and we just simply by clicking add new asset, we can create our data for acquisition target. So let's just click it, and now we have a new asset. It's called Maria, and we have a new data for this asset on the basis of existing assets. So I can go now to the input parameters and change or adapt my data to the new acquisition asset, and then you can build your new evaluate a new asset, new acquisition target in a couple of minutes. So that was the acquisition manager. It also shows you some key parameters, revenues, expenses, some key KPIs, and it's kind of the same time is a dashboard. So another model is called Portfolio Manager. If we click on that, we will go to the Portfolio Manager, where we can add or include or exclude assets. Let's say this is a list of our assets, and we can choose yes or no to include or exclude certain asset from our whole calculation of strategic plan. Here you see our KPIs, and we see our P&L, we see our balance sheet, we see our cash flow, all data on this report. So let's say we don't want to have a Monaco, we can say no, and that all data will be updated, all my financial statement will be updated immediately, and I'll be able to see the result for all my financial statements. So this is a good way of seeing what is the what happens, what if scenarios, what if these asset, I will acquire this asset, let's say we are added a new asset, what if we you can see your results with this assets or without this asset. So it's very useful to simulate different kind of outcomes to see how your strategic plan, how your KPIs change in this strategic plan period. So as I said, this is also multidimensional. You can have it in different currencies, and you see immediately impact of change in your portfolio. So another feature that we have here, this timeline shows how the data is used, what is the sources of the data. So as I said, we use historical data, we use also budget data for next year, and the system works like that if data available, depending on what kind of data available, let's say if we have already actuals for the part of the current year, we use actuals for the part of the current year, and if there is no data, actual data for current year, let's say we are in September, we have until let's say August actual data, but after August we can use budget data. So it is built in a way that we use the latest available data for our strategic plan, and it's automatically updated and without any manual involvement, manual entry. We have also here another feature. It's called data control. So here we can see whether the data available. So let's say if you are working with your colleagues and you would like to see whether the data entered for certain asset or not, whether the actual data available or not. So you can see whether you're and for each item of your statement, whether the data available. For instance, if it's green, data is entered, and when it's red, is not entered. So you can use it as a control to see progress of data entry in your from your colleagues, and it could be different assets, it could be different departments. You can even send a screenshot of this to your colleagues and show them the progress, how they entering data in their statements. So this is very useful if you like to control completeness and progress of your or entry of your data. And this is also used by some customers to remind, for instance, the colleagues that they should enter data. If we are in September, if certain data is not entered, it is immediately visible in this matrix. So this was a kind of navigation over there. I showed you how the system works. I built in this strategic plan some graphical visualization for data. And the one with infographics, where we can see the different KPIs with its own icons for all our assets. So we can see where the progress over the years for each asset, let's say how many calls, passengers, etc. for this business, or cargo container. Let's say we can change the year and see how it's changed. It is very useful kind of visual representation, let's say a visual representation of KPIs, and at the same time it shows your ranking, which asset performing the best on the top, and it goes down to the asset that perform worst. And also it shows if it's about, let's say, calls, it's ships. If it's passengers, you can see the passengers or different type of ships, and this helps to visualize data. It is more kind of representative. You can tell the story with this kind of visualization, icon graphics that capture the attention of the viewer and provide the vital information for decision makers. Again, let's wrap up. This is our main navigation pane, where we can see also diagram where you see how the data flows. Here we have also useful information about when the last update occurred for this data source, budget data source. Here also historical data source. We see that when it's updated last time. If you would like to update, we can click on this button and update it. Otherwise, it is updated regularly on the cloud. We have seen our models for scenario manager, acquisition, portfolio manager. We have seen our workflow and timeline. And this is one example how you can build your strategic plan in Quantrix. If you have any question, or if you have any challenge in building your models, or if you're interested in Quantrix, if you like to learn more, please contact us. Consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Have a nice time and happy modeling with Quantrix.